Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Hello.
We'll stand by.
Cheers. Better. You can still hear, but it's not.
Yeah, we got internet.
I don't know if he knows that he dropped. What up, folks? Welcome to Paul and Alex's podcast.
Are we live?
They're not doing it live. No, they just use it to record.
Yeah, I know. They said everyone did it live. So like, what are you doing? It's a takeover. We get the takeover podcast for the night.
He said my wife just shut off. My wife.
Okay. He's got to reset. There should be tray. I think on the right side, somewhere around the cord and all that button, there's a mute all button. One of those, does one of those have like a mute button? For some reason, I thought there was, but there might not be. Is there an on-air button over there?
Each one of them individually has.
Just for future reference. No, I thought there was. I guess there isn't. I thought there was one you get to mute them all, but there isn't. It's kind of you got to go through each one, but.
Mm-hmm.
His wife shut their router up or something?
I'm not sure.
Or a typo. My wife.
It's like our lighting. Don't. Which is off.
I feel like I'm dark. I feel like I'm really dark.
That one's usually out. How's it look? You still feel dark?
No, well, that's pointing on you.
Yeah, bring his up a little bit.
Yeah, their internet went out.
Is that too much or
No,
anymore?
Yeah.
that's a little bit better.
I don't want to blow the whole.
I mean, that's all it is. That's all there is. So that's fine.
Okay. That's all right.
It's all right. Yeah, it looks better.
Ben, what is that?
Almost made it. 7 minutes into an episode of something with a hoodie. Now I'm all fucking Carolina water, so they gotta pay us.
I didn't open it. Some fishing rod company hit me up and said, "Are you interested?" And blah blah blah. I'm like, I didn't read it. I don't know who they're. Empire Rods. You ever heard of them?
No.
Yeah, me neither.
Did that one airdrop to you?
What's up, man?
One did, yeah. One complete.
My Wi-Fi completely ate shit.
Don't worry,
Get this.
It happens all the time, guys.
We're just gonna. This has never happened. Well, I mean, this honestly, our internet never goes out. I have never had that happen during a podcast. What the fuck? All right,
Now
we've
you
been
have.
recording, so Alex is gonna have to cut all that shit out. We're gonna start over.
Okay.
All right.
Hopefully, my damn phone internet will keep up. What the hell? Until Alex gets here and I reset the router. All right, let's Jeez, what a
If you want to wait a
show. I
minute till
promise
your router resets, we can. We don't have to.
Let me see.
If you want to
but
give
it's
your main
not so
internet a
far-
minute.
Doesn't look like it. Hold on, let me check, and if not, then we'll roll with this.
Okay. That's funny. It would be.
I turned my Wi-Fi off just in case. I'm like, am I eating up his bandwidth?
That would be impressive.
We're lucky. We're lucky we even got internet in here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Peter?
Record that.
Looks like it cut out again.
He might have switched because I think he was trying to reset his router.
Oh, there we go. Unfrozen.
Unfroze.
Jeez,
Looks good.
what a shit
sharp.
show. Damn.
Y'all look.
Welcome to Bass and Brews. This is what the fuck. This is kind of shit that happens. Not the internet, but just stupid shit like that. So here we go. We're gonna do the intro in again, so we can.
Let's do it.
Put all that shit. All right, stand by.
Yes, sir.
Welcome to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other high-quality podcasts. And now, your host, Alex from Swamp Rat Fishing, and the co-hostess with the mostest, the Jabberhammer, Paul Roberts.
Oh, damn
Welcome
it.
to the Bass and Brews podcast, your weekly distraction from other. Welcome.
Y'all know what? We just rolling like this. Look, everybody
yeah.
that's listening, we have had technical difficulties out the wazoo. My internet died the second we came in off the intro and then had to reset it, and I tried to redo the intro, and y'all just see what happened. Alex left me in charge and didn't give me proper instructions, so now we're rolling with it. Welcome to Bass and Brews, your weekly distraction from quality podcast content, which is the most evident of the last 35 to 45 seconds. Tonight, we got a host of guests in the house. They're all together, and it's the One Cast team. Fellas, how y'all doing tonight?
Good, man. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Yeah,
Yep.
you know, this is not how you're supposed to start your podcast. So just take note of that to have your shit together better than what just happened here. Y'all, Alex will be on here in about 15, 20 minutes, and we'll let him take over so technical difficulties will cease, hopefully.
Well, how should you start your podcast? Who wrote the book on that?
Well, I mean, you kind of want to start it somewhat professionally, not with this music going back and forth and the standby coming on and off. I mean, I don't think I've ever been that rambled on this podcast before. It
I
really
think there
got
was
me.
a couple subdued cuss words in there too. I think as you were trying to unclick the button you were clicking, so it was good. I like it.
Yeah. Alex says we're not supposed to cuss in the first minute. Well, that shit went out the door.
Well,
We've
he's
been
not
live
here
for
right
8
now.
now.
Yeah, Alex isn't here.
Yeah, he's
so-
not here.
Yeah. See, he ain't ever gonna leave again after this one.
No.
Fellas, introduce yourselves real quick.
Go from left to right.
Yeah, go ahead, Pete.
Yeah. So my name is Pete Shandrick.
You sure?
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Yeah, down here in we're down here outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. I've been down here for coming up on 6 years. Originally from Pennsylvania, lived kind of all over the country, but that's a little bit about me. I'm sure we'll talk about the company and all that later on. So I do fish. I do kayak fish. I guess this is a fishing podcast, so I should talk about that. I grew up tournament fishing. I fished some bigger stuff, BFLs and opens and stuff when I was younger, but quickly realized that I wasn't nearly as good or rich as some of those guys. So now I just fish some local club stuff and tour stuff. No, I know there's a lot of kayak guys in here, but I'm a boat guy, so don't beat me up too bad.
Oh, this ain't just a kayak fishing podcast now. We're a bass fishing podcast.
That's right.
And some other stuff in between.
Am I up now?
You're up, man.
All right.
Middleman.
Middleman here. So I'm Ben. I'm the owner, founder, CEO, president, whatever name you want to throw up on me of One Cast Fishing. So I started One Cast. It was actually probably 2017. I did a couple, some YouTube videos, did that thing, but I started making jigs on the side later that year, the year after. Started selling them on social media. August of 18, and then did pretty well. I made a bunch before my deployment. Thankfully, my wife shipped them out when we had orders, and then 2 years ago, I got out of the Army and took one cast full time, and then we started. We've been talking about our podcast, the one cast, for like the last year, 18 months, maybe.
You and I started talking,
Yeah,
the two of us, almost 2 years ago.
And we finally got around and get everything situated. So, but appreciate you having us on. I know you all more from the TikTok content. That's where I spent a lot of my observation in social media. So that's drew me in quite a while ago with and lately with his unpopular takes. I like it.
The TikTok is all Alex. I tried to keep it going while he was going on his last deployment, but I did a shitty job at it. That's all him. That's helped us grow this podcast a ton, and we gotten some really wild, crazy fans off of it. It's been a good ride.
There's no platform that you can reach fans like you can on that, and it's essential to get your podcast, YouTube, business, whatever you're doing out there. Like you've got to make that content on TikTok because that's where everybody's at.
I couldn't articulate before, and I kept thinking about it the last time I tried to do it on the podcast. But I love how you can reply to comments. To me, that sets it apart from everything else. It makes it a lot more engaging, and it makes it a lot more personal. So it is. I love it. I love that platform.
Absolutely.
I can't believe you said TikTok and not Ticky Tack.
Look, man, I'm flustered. Give me a break. I'm flustered, y'all.
Get out of that professional mindset. Go back to the Ticky Tags.
I know the Tic Tac and I'm fucked up the podcast so bad at the beginning. I might as well just let it loose anyway. I might take my shirt off.
Trey, you gonna introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Trey. I'm originally from Kalamazoo, Michigan. I've been in the South for about 18 years. Got a couple years left in the Army. Been a angler and outdoorsman my entire life. Did a lot of multi-species fishing up in the in Michigan and Wisconsin, and then really got into to bass fishing like exclusively through a Warriors on the Water tournament, believe it or not. And that was some time ago, and that was a really cool platform. And thought I knew what I was doing, man. Showed up with 3 spinning rods in a Plano tackle box, ready to rock and roll. And then here we are going 80 miles an hour in a Blazer bass boat down Jordan Lake, and I'm like, wow, this is what it's all about. So hooked me, and ever since been trying to plan my exit strategy from the Army and nesting myself in with one cast fishing, and then, you know, us starting this podcast, and that's where we are today.
Nice. Yeah, 80 miles per hour. We ought to race. I'll bring the Hobie out.
I don't have a Blazer. That was someone else's. After that, I went out and bought a 16-foot aluminum boat. And then after that, I was deployed, and I said, you know what, I'm going to treat myself to a new boat. And then I bought a new boat, and that was 4 or 5 years ago.
Nice. What's the new boat?
The new boat is a Tracker 195. I outfitted it with everything. I'm sure you've seen me. I got a white Tracker with poles and all the gamuts on it and stuff like that. I'm always out on hairs.
Yeah, that's usually where I am. I've seen you a few times before.
Yeah.
We've never been able to connect on the water for sure.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk about a lot of what y'all have going on, but the main thing, let's hop into the podcast. It's y'all are fairly new with it. I think it finally hit a couple weeks ago, and y'all put out a few episodes. It's roundtable type. It's y'all three sitting just like you are now. For the folks that are listening, they're all sitting in a row. They all got mics in front of them, and I think they're in somebody's garage. They got a nice backdrop. I mean, this professional shit that they're doing here. Tell us what was the catalyst? What was the reason for wanting to start the podcast? And then why all three of you?
So it started, I started wanting to do one quite a few years back, and I'd made some connections in the industry, working some shows and stuff with a few companies and things, and was like, I'm always talking about it. It would be good to just record, put it out there for people to listen to. And then I kind of got hooked up with Ben, who owned the jig company. I had ordered some jigs from him, and he was close, so we met in a Lowe's parking lot, picked him up like a drug deal. And
say space for online.
That's
internet.
right. Yeah. Lowe's is the safe space for the internet buy. But I met him up there. We exchanged numbers. He fished my home lake a fair bit, and he hit me up I don't know, a month later, was for a Tuesday night, and was like, "Hey, you want to fish tonight?" And I had got off work early. I was like, "Yeah, let's do it, man." So that turned into he was in a pretty bad truck accident. Somebody had hit him head on, and he was hurt a little bit. So I hit him up. I think, text him, was like, "Man, anything you need, like, let me know. I'll come help you package jigs, whatever. I don't want to see, small business hurt." And so started going packing jigs in his garage. And I was like, "Man, we should start a podcast," because we were sitting there listening to podcasts. We're talking about everything that's going on, just talking about fishing. And it's like, maybe some people want to listen to our bad takes. And so, we kind of him-hawed around for, man, it would be close to a year. And then Trey, we got connected with Trey, and it just kind of from there blossomed till we framed out a podcast studio in Trey's garage and threw a backdrop up and just started recording a little bit. So.
Yeah, Paul, you're absolutely right. We are sitting in my detached garage, and that's kind of how I think that's the cool part about it. Like I was a cadre member instructing a course on Fort Bragg, and I actually met Ben's wife, who talked about him. It was randomly. It was like, yeah, my husband bass fishes, and you know how we all are. Either you identify somebody by their boat or by their kayak, by their truck, whatever. And I was like, "Oh, is your husband the guy with this boat with this power pole?" She's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Oh, no kidding." And then so I reached out through the social media space, and we connected that way. And then I met Pete, and then we just put our heads together, and it kind of came to fruition. So it was a really cool deal.
How long was Pete said y'all started about a year ago, kind of thinking about it. How long was the process for y'all started buying your stuff and like, let's do it? And did one of you say, was it all planning? And then one of you finally said, "All right, we got to do this shit. Let's get it started. Let's record. Let's do it."
So Pete and I were talking about that a year ago, 12 months ago, something.
18 months ago.
Something like that. And then we started talking about it in the spring, and definitely talked about it more at ICAST. And I think the decision we were done at ICAST is to make it happen. And I think we actually started ordering stuff late September, early October, because we were in pretty big production mode trying to get everything to launch the jigs 1 September. And then once we did that, we were purchasing everything. And then it just takes a little bit of time to get the backdrops and kind of the studio set up how we wanted, and test all the equipment. And
we're still testing it.
Yeah. In fact, we recorded one yesterday, and we identified we got to make a checklist of what to do, because we forgot to hit record on the Zoom video for the first 20 minutes of it. So, so we're gonna have to go old school and put his picture up there. And
So three cameras and recording equipment, and then Zoom if you have somebody on live, and making sure everything is recording. And it's we gotta make a check.
It's definitely a logistical. I mean, where I live. We don't live very far from each other, and so we had to install a Wi-Fi mesh system throughout the house to reach out to the detached garage. And then we're even going to change the ergonomics in this room. I'm actually leaving next week for a couple weeks, and I know Ben and Pete are going to come over here and start working on something different to kind of change the layout more for the viewer and more for us. So it's just and that's the beauty of it, is you can change every day. You don't have to keep it the same. And that's kind of cool. So luckily, my wife has her own garage and her own office. So this is like our space, the new version of my space, I guess. So it works out.
The one cast man cave.
The one cast. Yeah, man cave.
Yeah, man cave. Yeah.
Can we say that? Yeah, man cave. That's
yeah. I mean, what other word are you gonna call it? I can't think of anything off the top of my head that makes sense. Maybe later, probably 45 minutes from now. But look, not hitting record, that happens usually once, and then after that, you make damn sure it doesn't happen. I can't remember who it was. It was when we had the head cheese, Frankie Povolone, on, and we did like 35, 40 minutes, and my face melted.
Oh,
Frank, stop. I'm not recording.
Yep. Yeah, so we recorded an entire episode and not understanding equipment, which probably was my fault since I took lead, but with like a DSLR camera, so we want to shoot in 4K. Since it's not technically a video camera, it shuts off after 29 minutes. So we go on for an hour and 5 minutes, or whatever. We're all fired up. I go home and I plug it in. And I'm like, boys, we got 29 minutes of video. What do you want to do? And we're like, just delete it. So like the whole first episode just kind of went away, and it was, yeah, like you said, I haven't made that mistake again. Ended up turning into a digital countdown timer on the wall. So we hit that, and when it starts getting close, we know to take a break and reset. But yeah, it's a learning process, but it all started. Yeah, we bought the first piece of equipment, and it was downhill from there. It started rolling, and
I think I was on. Did I take 2 weeks of leave or something like that, or a week of leave?
yeah, you were off for.
I just started grabbing lumber, man, and just started framing stuff out, and it was pretty therapeutic for me. I needed to decompress, so we knocked out the walls and knocked out everything. It only took a couple days. Really, it's the tech stuff that is far more intricate than putting some 2x4s up that are definitely not 16 on center. So yeah,
the technical shit will make you feel dumb real quick. I think,
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
YouTube's a great way to learn, but man, until you start putting it into practice yourself, you feel pretty damn stupid. I just turned 41 this year, and I'm starting to get that old man vibe about, having to ask my kids how to run shit, and it's scaring me. It's really scary.
He's like, I'm trying to switch from AOL. How do I make a Gmail?
Like earlier, I should have screamed, "The internet's out, Audrey, help!"
Well, you should have saw these guys. They're trying to learn how to airdrop something to each other with iPhones, and I don't use iPhone. And I was like, let me just go get my 14-year-old daughter. She'll come in here and fix it in 5 seconds.
Hey, we got to figure it out.
Yeah, they did.
Man, well, at least they aren't peasant like you are with that Android crap.
That's right. Thank you for having our back on that, because we call him the peasant all the time.
We've had issues with that. He went out. It's got an amazing, awesome camera on it, 4K. It zooms in, I think, way better than the actual iPhone. And we went out filming last May. He took a lot of great videos, but there's no way to get him over to my Mac without him compressing it to like 720. And it's like, well, that does no good for editing.
Yeah. Well,
you can group chat with Trey, and it's like the peasant group chat, because
That's right.
You can't share pictures, and it's the green blob, and
yeah, as soon as that green blob shows up, you just want to kick that person out of those group chats.
I know. Even when he catches fish and wants to send us fish pictures, like, we can't really fucking see it.
Hey, you got to blame the government for that one. I mean, at the end of the day, like, it's the system I'm used to. So. But, maybe one day in 2025, I'll switch to Apple or an iPhone.
They're going to make you at some point if y'all keep doing this, because you're going to need to be able to share shit a lot easier.
Yeah, that's a fact.
So tell us, what is the podcast about? What are we talking about on the podcast, and what is your intent with the brain fart right here? What's the intent with the content you're putting out?
Yeah, so that's a good one. The big, obviously we're talking about bass fishing. So we our first few episodes, I think the first two, we kind of did a recap of fishing overall in 2022. Second one, we talked about some rules we would change in tournament bass fishing. And then the next three, which episode 3 dropped last Thursday, 4 will drop this Thursday, and then the following Thursday will be 5. We kind of go through the big tours, so the NPFL, the Elites, and the Bass Pro Tour, MLF. And then after that, we have some guests on. After that, we had a former Elite Series pro, and we talk more about, not so much about the fishing. I mean, the fishing's part of it, but about the mental side of it and travel and how you deal with stuff at home when you're on the road, 3 weeks out of the month. And I know another big focus we've been talking to some people about is having folks on to talk about non-traditional ways to get into the fishing industry. Because I think there's this stigma or belief that in order to get there, you have to be this great tournament angler and or do all these things and have these accolades. And you've been around now a little bit, and we've been around some big companies and small in industry, and that's not the case. There's other ways to get into fishing and to work with these companies and do things that are non-traditional and outside of fishing. So, we're gonna have a focus there. What else? Education. So we have a high school bass angler coming on to talk about kind of how how the high school side of things work with BASS tournaments and building to college. So we want to do some educational stuff, but not necessarily just
Tournament
technique
recap.
specific or tournament recaps. And things like that.
We want to do. We don't want to limit ourselves, I guess. So yes, we're primarily fishing outdoors. We're going to have that focus, but I think it's more of us sitting down, giving our opinions, and kind of let the audience get to know the people behind the brand and get the people to know behind One Cast. Have that, this is who we are. This is what we believe. You can agree or disagree. We can have fun. We can cut it up. We can BS back and forth. We can talk serious stuff. We want to provide more educational stuff, talk about some topics that other people, may not talk about, whether that's good or bad. And just, kind of just open up and let people know, how we feel, what's going on in the industry.
So I'll give you a good, kind of a good way to look at, this is how I always looked at it. So think of a nonprofit organization that helps out veterans in the country, right? There's thousands of them. Around 22,000 of them or something like that. And I work for one, I volunteer for one. And a lot of people will ask me, what makes you different than the Wounded Warrior Project, than whatever, right? And I say nothing. The intent is the same. It's to help veterans through post-traumatic stress disorder, using outdoor therapy as a method, whatever the case may be. And I think you could say the same thing for a lot of podcasts, right? Like every organization has their group of followers, right? So there's organic followers to the One Cast Fishing brand, organic followers to all brands. And so we can capture our audience and just give them another platform and an opportunity to listen to us. But, is the market saturated? Yeah. Does it need to be? Absolutely. I think it needs to be, because so many people are hungry for perspective that they want to get all of it, right? And so, and every single person in this room has a different relationship with other people within or outside the industry. And so you're never going to be able to get all of them on. I mean, it's no secret, like Mercer has all the elite pros on, right? And Low Budget Live has a lot of anglers from around the industry. Well, we have a lot of people too that may not have touched their podcast and got on that media platform. So I just think it just offers just more opportunities for viewers and listeners as well.
My number one goal is to break Trey of that officer technical talk.
Good luck. It's going to take a lot of beating, Steve. It's going to take a lot of throwing shit at him.
I got a sack full of potatoes. That's going to be round one.
You're going to have a pile of shit beside you. Make it all the jigs that are in the the pile that they didn't turn out right. Just put them beside you, and every time he does it, just chuck one at him.
Oops,
he's got one in his hand.
No, this jig right here, and just to go off into a tangent, this is one of the jigs that we use down at ICAST in the demonstration tank, and that was, I don't get nervous typically. I'm a relatively good public speaker. I can create dialogue, whatever the case may be. We can sit at the end of the bar and have a conversation. We'd be a perfect stranger. But getting up in front of all those people at ICAST, man, I think my stomach sank to my butthole. Like I was like, man, if this is a disaster, this is going to be terrible. And you have you been to ICAST before?
I haven't been to ICAST.
So, well, when you go and take your lure to the company that runs that, they bend your hooks in and stuff. So changes the action on your bait potentially and stuff. And I was like, oh, great. Last act of the third day. Like, how is this one going to play out? All these professional anglers, and then some schmuck that gets up here and is like, check out this jig, guys. Like, it catches fish.
Snag.
And I actually did snag it on top of the tank because I pitched it too far. And the guy was like, don't worry about it, man. Like Michael Neal just did it or whatever. You know what I mean? I'm like, all right, cool. Like, we're good. So,
well, Trey,
yeah,
you said something. Oh, go ahead.
Up? No, I was going to say, Pete, you can throw oops jigs at me all day.
Okay, cool.
That's just free jigs for me.
Trey, you said something about the market being saturated. I just listened to a podcast today, and they talked about the numbers in podcasts, and there's 4 million podcasts out there.
Yep.
But there are, and I can't remember all the numbers, so I'm just going to throw out the ones that I know. So there's 4 million out there. There's only 150,000 of them that have put out 10 episodes and have posted in the last 30 days.
No kidding.
So out of 4 million podcasts out there. There's only 155,000 that have 10 episodes and have put out an episode in the last 30 days. So if you think about it, there are a fuck ton of podcasts out there, but there ain't many of them still podcasting.
Right.
So it's a longevity game right now. And one of the things that was interesting to me is they said that if you compare it to YouTube and blogs, it's still minuscule. 4 million ain't nothing compared to that. So it seems like we're still in the early stages of podcasting because people start them, they realize how much work they are. Thanks to TikTok, we think we're supposed to get 300 downloads an episode by episode 2. Everybody wants to be Joe Rogan, who was famous before he started.
That's right.
And it doesn't happen. It's a lot of work, especially if you want to put out edited stuff. I mean, there's a lot of work to that. So it is not saturated. But if you put in the time in the longevity game and stick with it, there's a high ceiling.
I think consistency. So releasing weekly, even if it's bi-weekly, is number one. And then leveraging your socials, making sure that you're sharing those. Like, of course, we dropped the first episode, and like every hour we're logging on and looking at how many downloads we have, anything. But now episode 3's been out. I think I've looked once. Like, I know it's not going to be. You're right, because even though we had realistic expectations, I still think in the back of your mind, you think like, yeah, I'm gonna drop this and 1,000 people are gonna download the first episode, and it's just not the case.
Yeah,
and it's not that you're humbled, but once you kind of start going, and I know we did. We're 3 released now. We have 7 recorded, and it's like as long as we're consistent, we keep doing the things. We know there's going to be episodes that certain people aren't going to listen to because they might not care about the tournament side of things. But then if there's something else, they're going to listen to, you'll have more. So I think people get discouraged, like you said, less than 10. They think those numbers are instantly going to be there, and they're not.
Yeah.
And leveraging as many platforms as possible. So being on all the podcast platforms, YouTube, getting the video on Facebook, which is even more of a nightmare than YouTube. Putting those TikToks out, all of that type of thing. That's the work people don't want to do. And we were lucky, and I have some friends that work in film editing and things. So we were able to get somebody to edit our stuff for us for very, very cheap.
Yeah.
Oh shit, yeah.
So basically we record the episode, I upload it to Google Drive, and a few days later we have an episode back complete. So it took some of that work, but I mean, you all are doing a fishing podcast. You understand, like, it's not unlimited topics. Some of the stuff you have to think about to dive into, or, there's not always some hot item going on that you need to talk about.
Well, what Alex has taught us is just to, come up with some of the most dumbassery things you can to try to make somebody go, did he just say that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I mean, look at the engagement, like you said, on their TikToks with the
hot takes. I mean, hot
takes.
takes is always a thing. If you say something controversial, I mean, not even that controversial. It's the whole Jordan LeBron debate. You just put that out there.
Oh no.
Everyone's going to comment their opinion, and so there's a lot of things like that you can do. But going back to consistency, I mean, that's just a great life lesson in general. But on the internet, because everything's so saturated, this isn't 2012 or 2015, I mean, with YouTube's the same way. There's just so many videos, there's so many channels. But if you look at, I don't know the numbers, but I would imagine it's very similar to podcasts. Of all the YouTube channels out there, how many have actually posted in the last 7 days, 30 days, and do it consistently?
Yeah.
And that's with posting on TikTok, Instagram, Facebook. Consistency matters, because one, it shows your dedication and passion, and people are more willing to follow you. And then by virtue of that, you're just going to get more eyes on it.
Yeah, it definitely helps having 3 of us, though, because there's some times where I'm not reliable. I'll be gone, right? Like I'm leaving for a couple of weeks, or be sometimes where maybe these guys aren't reliable, but we have at least kind of a plan in place. Like one of us can be absent and we can still roll with the punches.
And I needed these guys. I was getting to the point of one cast, especially as we were getting into the production of the snagless jigs, and it was just straight casting, pouring, skirting. That, I mean, if you go back and look at all the social media posts, like all that stuff dropped off, drastically. It wasn't like the year before and during COVID when you had a lot more time to be able to do all that stuff. So these guys coming on to help alleviate some of that content is a huge bonus, because you can't, you get to a point you can't do it all yourself, and you have to admit that.
Hey, you have two really good friends with you helping, because I don't do shit besides show up and record. Alex does everything else. So y'all are good friends. Y'all, Ben, I hope you know that you need to give them hugs at the end of the show and appreciate them, because you could, on the other end, be like Alex and have me who doesn't do anything but talk shit about the post he makes on TikTok.
And he leaves you hanging on an episode.
Yeah.
We
saw how that went.
So we're here to interview you. That's a technique, right? Didn't we see that in the movie?
Was that Step Brothers?
Yeah.
Yeah, you just flip it around.
Bam.
So you
it's
talk
your
about
podcast. I'm just here to ask Oprah questions and make sure that shit don't go off the rails, even though
I'm just messing with you.
You're like a teacher, basically, is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Guide us a little bit and make sure we don't screw it up.
Well, people love to talk about themselves. So if you ask them questions about themselves, it's easy to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
It's super easy to do that. The OneCast brand, Ben, tell us about the OneCast brand.
Where should I begin? I think I started a little bit in the beginning, but it really came out of a passion of, I wanted to stay connected to the industry. Being in the Army, you work long hours a lot of times. So when you get home, it's dark, especially in the wintertime, or you get deployed, or you just can't be on the water as much as you want to. So I want to be able to, when I wasn't at work, to be able to stay connected to fishing in some way. So I started hand pouring jigs and letting friends and family catching some fish on them, and then started an Instagram and put them on the website, and just kind of slowly bootstrapped it. Still haven't taken any money from it, just reinvested everything. And then the big thing the last year was the snagless jigs we launched at ICAST, taking the weedless Ned concept with an offset EWG and eliminating the weed guard on a jig, so you could just Texas rig your plastic. That was that was kind of the vision when I got out. So this is what we're working towards for the development, and then finally came to fruition in September. So that's kind of a quick synopsis of the last 4 to 5 years of OneCast.
And our as Trey and I have gotten more involved, and we've started the podcast. Men used to do a lot of YouTube videos and things. There's a whole media side of things that we want to have along. So, we want the OneCast brand to not just be jigs. We want it to be social media, podcast, educational. I think all of us, well, I know Ben and I'm pretty sure Trey are very passionate about education, helping other anglers. There's so much just bullshit and hate on social media and the internet, and people, I'm going to apologize, Mom, I'm about to go off. People just being fucking assholes, like on the internet to one another, like the live scope debate, all that bullshit. People are so just hateful and passionate about it. And I love the passion, but it's hateful to the point where they won't help somebody who may not have any experience, and they're innocently asking questions because they want to get involved.
The biggest is for me is fishing knot videos. You do a fishing knot video and you do a braid or something because it shows up better. It shows up better on camera than regular line, and then they're like, you can't use that knot with braid. You'll never catch a fish on it. Well, I just got a 6-pounder on it yesterday. I mean, what are you talking about?
And I mean, ICAST, they do courses, and they talk about like the industry growth and the number of people getting into the industry. In 2021, 2022, like the fishing industry exploded with people working from home and wanting to, and being able to get out and do things they typically wouldn't have done in the outdoors. And it opened up an entire door. But then you go on to NC bass fishing, and somebody asks like, "Hey, what's a good way to catch bass in March?" And
get on the water.
Yeah, go on the water. And I'm like, man, like I'm not going to give you waypoints, but I'll PM those people and be like, look, this time of year, this is like, I'm looking for brush piles and this is what I'm doing. And so, Ben and I have had some conversations, and Trey, and there's that whole educational piece where we want to create an environment through our socials, through our YouTube video and things where people can learn, they can ask those questions and not get somebody to jump down their throat for asking a simple question, wanting to learn and better themselves.
to kind of jump on that bandwagon too. So I joined a club years ago here in the local area, and I love those guys, right? My intent of joining the club was not to go out and win a bunch of money and kick people's asses in fishing. Of course, that's part of it, but I wanted to learn, like, if you can catch a bass in North Carolina, you can catch a bass anywhere. This place is hard as shit to fish sometimes. So, but what I saw during my time in the club, which I'm no longer in, is a lot of people didn't give a crap about you and trying to help you grow as an angler. There were great people, but then there was a lot of people that just didn't want you to have any sort of advantage on the water. And then even looking at like in the public spotlight, like a lot of guys are like, oh, this is great for the industry. It grows the industry. And then somebody asks them a question, be like, yeah, I'm not going to tell you that. Well, how do you grow the industry when you want to keep all the secrets? It doesn't make sense. It's not a good business model. Like if you're a business owner, I'm going to tell you exactly what I'm doing, how I'm doing it, so that you can take my product and go hammer them on the water, because those fish are going to be there tomorrow. But so many people say, oh, it's great for the industry. And, you know, the Lord blessed me on this one. And it's like, hey man, how'd you end up snatching them up? Oh, that's none of your business. Well, well, that doesn't grow the industry. Like, come on, man.
Hey,
So
Alex, hold on.
Oh my
Everybody
God!
welcome Alex.
Fucking
Everybody
soundboard.
welcome Alex.
Did you
Alex
not fucking listen?
Did
you not listen to everybody? They hate the fucking soundboard.
Bobby Roast Beef said it was wonderful, and he trumps everybody else. Hey, real quick, Alex, let me give you a rundown of what we've done so far to this
It's all right.
point.
I'll roll with it. I'm a professional at this point.
No,
Let's
you
not
got to
bore
hear
our
this.
listeners.
You got to hear this. I hit start podcast. I hit standby. Intro music came in. Intro music ended. I started, and my internet went out. And then I got it back up running and came back into the StreamYard, and it was still recording with them sitting there, you know, jabbering amongst themselves. So I said, all right, guys, we're going to redo this. Alex can cut the beginning. And I fucked it up. I like the old music going and the new music going and standby on and off. It's a great time. You got to leave it in there now as part of the show.
It's not like I have enough going on right now that now I've got to edit or whatever your fucking mistakes, Paul. You know, a lot of people, like, I'm going to release this video where I'm talking about getting a new co-host, and today is probably the biggest reason why is
Hey, you want to hear something funny?
I can see Paul's fingers.
Ben talks about Trey and Pete helping him out and doing this and that for the podcast. And I'm like, well, I don't help Alex do shit.
Okay. No,
except right in your mouth
hold
a
on.
little bit.
Hold on. Paul carried the podcast for a year. I'll give him that. He absolutely carried the Paul for a whole year while I was deployed. He covered all of it. But that's all he did. He didn't get them out on time. Like they would show up. Literally, I remember coming back. I'm in Dutch Harbor. I've got like very little internet in Dutch Harbor, Alaska. It's like 56K modem style. And Instagram's like freaking the fuck out, but I get messages and they're like, just so you know, Paul released an episode at 3 p.m. I was like, motherfucker. And then Paul's like, yeah, you know, sometimes I just fucking forgot.
I didn't forget. It was just, I had a lot of shit going on too. There were some days I was recording the podcast on Thursday night at 11 o'clock.
That's your fucking fault, Paul. I'm sorry, boys. I didn't mean to derail you. But I'm going to.
I like this.
Paul, I fucking told you. That's why we don't record on Thursdays, dickhead. It takes
You know
time.
what? When you by yourself, you do what you got to do to make the shit happen. You know what happened? The podcast.
I didn't know we were
out.
getting a therapy
missed a
session
week.
right here.
No, Paul, go into your phone right now. Go into the notes. And there, I know you have a whole notes that says how not to fuck this up while Alex is gone. And I know in there,
You just got a
none
new
of them
phone.
none of them said anything about posting it at 5 a.m. on Friday morning.
it's how we. Oh my God! Listen, we have
Anyway,
mixed company
So
here. Anyway,
Paul, it's all about doing one thing well, though. You can't do a whole bunch of things well.
Yeah.
So Paul did it one thing well, right?
Yeah,
I'm put an episode out a week. An episode out a week. That was the goal. And I told him when he left that the sole goal was the episode a week.
He
I
killed it.
left it at that. I didn't say anything about
A lot of people didn't
anything
hear
else.
all the episodes because Paul didn't fucking post them, but he recorded at least one
Oh.
episode a week.
So we're episode 1.
Yeah.
No, but you were so to get back to you were talking about anglers not helping each other. I
Mhm.
think it's a huge, big game. Go ahead, Paul. Fucking interrupt me. You're right. I just got on. You're right. Go ahead.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Paul.
Oh, damn, wrong
Oh
button.
my God.
Hey, wrong button. It's supposed to be the nana the BB. I'm going to introduce you to them, Alex. So looking on your left is Trey, middle is Ben, and right is Pete.
I know who they are. I follow them on the TikToks. I
know we've
fucking
already
get
talked
it.
about that. I was just look. I'm trying to help you out. Make sure you know who's
God,
who.
you're the
Anyway,
fucking worst.
go back.
Again,
Go back.
everybody who wants to apply, you can go out to what is it? Area code 609-837-9394 to leave your voicemail resume to be the new host, or you can email us at bassandbrews@gmail.com. Just drop me a resume there.
What's
'cause
the
I'm looking-
qualifications?
Well, the
Have a
qualifications, it's a really low barrier right now. I'll tell you that much.
You
No,
got to be
but,
taller than Alex, so at least 5'2" and up.
We're going back to Paul hating the troops. Solid move.
Whoa, now there's two Army guys in here now. Don't be doing all
Oh,
that.
so are you backing down from how you hate the troops? Because you were pretty strong about hating on the troops
I've
earlier.
never said that. You're the only one that's ever said that. What happened to
Because
your
you're the only
beard?
troop that you've hated.
What
It's me.
happened to your beard? What?
Oh,
So
that's
sad.
a whole nother. I mean,
Ooh.
okay, fine. We will. So I bought one of those little razors to like clean up the beard, right? Because I got some job interviews coming around, and I didn't realize there's levels on the fucking blade guard. And I had done it before, right? And it was just fine, but I didn't realize at some point when I stored the electric razor that it had pushed the guard down. So I literally went like this to just, get the flyaways. I got some job interviews coming, and it was just like a fucking reverse mohawk in the middle of my fucking beard. So
We had a good podcast going until Alex came up here and derailed.
anyway, so you're talking about fishermen not being helpful. That's like 100. I feel like fishermen are their worst enemies sometimes. There's all this talk about I want to help grow the sport, which is I think has to be added to the list of overused bullshit fucking terms at this point, which is I'm going to grow the sport. Like most people say that they have no idea what they're saying or how to do it, and they don't really give a fuck. They just say it to sound cool. But a lot of people will say all that shit, right? And then when push comes to shove, they want to give nothing. They still want to go out there and catch whatever they're catching and feel like Billy Badass instead of like actually giving back. Like that's the way. And it sounds like I know I missed a bunch. I missed 40 minutes of probably Paul interrupting you with the soundboard, but
You only actually missed about 35 minutes.
of you interrupting him with the soundboard.
The rest was me fucking up the intro.
No. It sounds like you guys are doing it right. I've seen your guys' content online. It's the right way to handle it. It looks like it's coming from such a genuine, you know what I mean? A genuine feel that it's awesome to see.
Appreciate that.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's kind of hard not to be genuine when we're just three nobodies sitting here running our mouths anyways, like we don't have anything to lose. And honesty in anywhere in the world right now is so hard to find. And that's what we do is just provide our honest assessment, and we're always welcome to the feedback. And that's the best thing that we can do is stimulate dialogue between the viewers and each other. I mean, we just sat down and ran our mouths for a year about fishing. Why not put it on some sort of social media platform,
Yeah, and Ben was one of the people that helped me learn Sharon Harris from the videos that he would put out when he was out there. I mean, when a video popped up from Ben, I would go watch it, and then if it was Sharon Harris, I could tell where he was, and obviously he was telling us what he was doing. Very informative, and it really helped me figure out some stuff on Sharon Harris.
Yeah,
but you talking about being like authentic, and you're like it was really easy for you guys to do that, and that's amazing. But I'm gonna tell you what, that's like a unicorn, bro. Because I feel like specifically with like fishing content creators, there's a lot that are inauthentic, right? They're chasing trends, they're chasing pro staff discount codes. They're chasing clout. And it's
Yeah,
really
wow.
easy, I think, for people to get caught up in all of that bullshit when most people probably started all of this that's not what they were doing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. That's like we've always been ourselves. And I've been in the outdoor industry since I was 15 years old. I've done different things between hunting and fishing. And back when pro staff meant something, like I was with some hunting companies at 15 and 16 years old where pro staff, we didn't have social media. Like my ass went to shows and talked to people and shared experiences and did things like that, wrote blog posts, that kind of stuff. So, I have some connections with some pretty big names. I think, people that we could have potentially immediately leaned on to try to bring onto the show.
Go ahead, name drop, man. We had
clout.
Alex Rudd on last week, and he name dropped every fishing company that's associated with them. We found out he got like $2 per mention. So
yeah, no, that's not me. But eventually we may have those folks on, but I don't want that to be why people are coming, because I don't think that's genuine. If they're just coming to listen because we have, X on, then it's not us doing anything. It's just us regurgitating content that everybody already has out there by inviting, the latest Elite Series winner. And not that there's anything wrong with the folks that are doing that. That's great, but that's not what we wanted.
I think you mentioned something about, you talked about being genuine, right? So many people in this industry and everywhere else, they let other people in the industry and all the social media, they let that define them instead of like paving their own way to what their definition is.
Yep.
Right. Like be who you are, go be authentic in your own way. Don't try to be someone else. And that's really what it comes down to, I think, is you just see so much of the same shit. And it's like, hey man, like I can tell when you're not yourself. Right. And you see it even meeting somebody or seeing somebody on social media and then turn around and meeting them. And you're like, that's a totally different person. You came to the show over the weekend, Paul, you met the three of us. Like we weren't anything different other than giving a 30-second elevator pitch on how badass the snagless jig is. Like you got I told every single person how I catch fish, to include showing them on my, forward facing sonar, what I'm looking at in certain parts of Sharon Harris. I'm not going out there to take anyone's money. I'm trying to educate the youth, especially the youth population. We want those are the ones that are going to continue supporting the industry in the future. But if they're filled with a bunch of lies, then they're not going to have any trust at all. Right. And that doesn't go a long way.
And then those folks they're going to then be the same person as everybody else was being to them, not helpful and secretive. They're not going to learn how to share on their own.
Yeah. And I think that's a great thing. You bring up the lead weights, and we all know the walleye guys, and I'm not going to give them more time than I've already gotten, but I think part of that is chasing that social media clout and being able to hoist a trophy and say, look at me, look what I did. I don't know them, so I'm not saying that they were good guys, but they could have at one point in their life been decent humans who got caught up in that bullshit and couldn't get away from who got away from who they really were.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to have to disagree. One, they were walleye fishermen. They don't know how to work smartphones or a fucking computer. It's whatever their cousin's flip phone can log in on is the only thing they're using.
Fair.
Well, we're going to get the walleye hate next week.
Fuck it. Well, yeah, send the walleye hate. Listen, I'm going to clip this right now, and it's going to go on the ticky tacks and everything else. Fucking send the walleye hate.
There's walleye hate on our episode 6 that'll be coming out in a couple weeks. Yeah. But I mean, Trey brought it up, kids. There's a lot of kids getting into it right now whose parents don't have anything to do with it, and they're looking for somebody to help them. Yep. Women, the last 2 years at ICAST, as they release numbers, continues to be the fastest growing sector in fishing. And you see some of these pages, a female come on and ask a question, and it's like, well, don't worry about the honey, just go make me a sandwich. And it's like, why be that way? Why not help? It's just it's a general like attitude that not help new anglers. And I don't think it matters male or female, but it's just this whole like tough guy, tough fisherman, I'm not going to tell anybody anything persona, and it's getting old. And I'm hopeful that ourselves, if we're able to show positivity, maybe a kid will pick that up, and as he gets older and learns, maybe he'll share those experiences and,
Well, I think it's
be
important
better.
to have good role models digitally through this, right? Not like
Right.
the dude using Cheetos to go fucking catch a fish, right? You guys are showing like real tips to get people on the water to catch fish. Like those are long lasting. That's what you want, right? And then you guys are showing an open flow of information. Those are all like, those will trigger in like 10 years now when these kids get a little bit older, right? And they get back into fishing because they gave up on it during college to chase girls. They'll get back into it and they'll remember those times they watched YouTube videos and things like that.
Yeah.
Yep.
Let me ask you, with the influx of more women fishing, the kids coming out and fishing, do y'all think that the small boat arena and the kayak arena has allowed those folks to, it's easier to get off the bank? We've talked about this a bunch on this podcast, but do y'all think that that's allowed folks to be able to come out and feel like they're fishing for real since they can get on a boat on the water off the bank? Uh-oh.
Did we lose him? Oh, Paul.
Uh-oh.
What did you do?
I don't know. I hope my internet isn't dying.
It was like the start of the best dramatic pause ever.
It was. Watch, my internet's probably the one fucking up and about to die.
I feel like, oh man, Paul. What is this episode?
This is crazy, man. This is, we got great audio, but
They're just reconnected.
there we go. Hey,
There they are. All right.
Hey.
All right.
We're back. We're back.
Sorry, but that one was on us.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, Paul with the soundboard. Anyways.
Hey, that was good timing. No, didn't interrupt anybody, and it was relevant.
That's right.
So what was your question? Sorry about that.
No, we got his question. I believe.
Don't listen. Don't let him talk again.
No, he's done. He's cut off. Yeah, kayak fishing definitely has opened up the sport to so many people. I mean, you can go to Walmart and buy a kayak now. Might not be the best platform to fish out of, but
all in.
Yeah, I mean, it gets you out there fishing, right? It gets you on the water, opens up more water. It's and now some of the stuff these dudes are doing, like this Tiny Boat Nation stuff, and how they're building out these little boats that, like,
Those
they're
are
doing
gnarly.
some sick, yeah, dude. There's some crazy stuff for not a lot of money.
Yeah.
And there's actually a huge small boat like tournament trail in Virginia. Like they pay out $50,000 and it's all guys with a lot of them are running like kayak boaters on their tiny boats. So yeah, I think it's huge.
What was his name? SB Fishing on YouTube. He runs out of that John Boat tournament. It's insane, that trail they have there with that. You guys are all big boaters, right? Glitter boats?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay.
No glitter on my boat, but yeah. No, I think
my wife kayak fishes though.
It's awesome. I mean, I think a lot of the guys on YouTube really helped kind of like open that door and expose that side of fishing, because Bassmaster magazine or on TV and stuff, it was never about kayaks or John boats. It was all about bass boats and the Bassmaster and stuff. And so I give a lot of credit to those guys and gals that have really opened the door through YouTube and all the other social media platforms, because I see it more and more every year. There's more kayaks out on the local lakes, and that just kind of speaks to the working class a little bit more. Like, you don't have to have something big and fancy to go out there and catch fish. Hell, most of the time you catch bigger and better fish off a kayak than you do out of a boat, So I think it's amazing what's actually the doors that have opened actually.
Now we got to do is teach, aka learn, all these new kayakers boat ramp etiquette.
Oh my God. Yo, this series of unpopular opinions, I think when I started shitting on bass boats and John boats, the biggest comments that I got were about people bitching about kayakers taking too long at the fucking boat ramp. And
they're the worst. And I don't mean to be like that.
No, I get it. And so one, to be clear, I think I've used an actual boat ramp twice. In all the time that I've kayak fish, I've only used a real boat ramp fucking twice, because it's a kayak. You can launch from anywhere. Why are you on the big concrete slab? That makes is that what you do? You sit on that big concrete slab?
I'm in and out quicker than any boat on the water. Yes, but I use
No,
the
I
ramp
know
'cause
you are. Your
it's fully
wife
loaded.
mentioned that.
What happened?
It was your wife.
No,
though.
I use the ramp 100% because my kayak sits in my garage. It's always loaded. I ain't unloading all that shit and putting it back in. I mean, I have to load stuff up at the truck, but then I
Right.
wheel it down on my wheels. I put it in the water. I put the wheels on the kayak, and I'm gone.
I
And when
want to know
come
what
up-
these people are doing that it's taking so long. Have you guys seen any ridiculous at the boat ramp with kayaks? Like what are they doing?
yeah.
That
Have you seen it at all, Ben?
No, I don't understand why it takes so long.
I mean, they'll fully like not have their seat in the kayak. They won't have their pedal drive ready. They won't have their crate in there.
I think it's mostly loading, unloading all their gear and stuff. You know, instead of doing that in the lane
Are
behind
they
the boat
sitting
ramp.
like right in the middle of the lane?
Oh
or
yeah,
like
oh yeah.
oh, see, so the two
They'll
times
back
that
their
I've used
truck
a
right in the lane.
boat lamp, I've gone way off to the side in a corner because I car top. I don't have a trailer or a truck, so I do have to like completely put the seat on and everything. But I'll push way to the side, and I can be done in 5 minutes. In and out, 5 minutes.
All gotta
Yeah,
do is
but
you roll the boat in the water and you roll the boat out the water at the ramp. You don't unload and load shit at the ramp. Of course,
I don't
you
have
know,
any of those fancy wheels.
Yeah, but there's a lot of impatient bass boat
Bass guys
people,
aren't
too.
any better.
Like it's not just kayakers. Like there's guys that launch their boat and like let their boat be tied off right there, and they'll go up top and smoke a cigarette or something and bullshit with Bobby and like, hey man, what are you doing today? And it's like, sorry to throw that southern accent out there, Paul, but that's how it is around here. Hey, what are you doing today? It's like, dude, I'm trying to launch my boat. Get the hell out of the
I
way.
untied a dude's boat at Jordan one time and walked it around to the other side of the dock.
oh shit!
'Cause
I
he-
thought you were about to say
I
I
think
kicked that bitch out, let it
No,
roll.
I'm not that mean. I did
You
take it
didn't
to the
tie
other
it
side of the
up.
dock, but I was like he literally did that though. Like he first of all, he backed in, then he unloaded all the stuff out of his truck into his boat. Then he launched his boat, tied it off right at the base of the ramp so you couldn't launch another boat. And then I guess he must have went to shit or something because I don't know where he went. So I was like, I had enough of this, and I just untied his boat and walked around the dock and tied it on the other side and launched and rolled out of there because I was ready
There you
to run.
go.
So,
And he didn't come back by the time you left.
no.
Wow.
Oh, that's a lot.
And
He's having some
the
problems.
summertime is a shit show anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, don't get me started on the wake boats.
Yeah, that is the whole, or the people that dragging the the motors down. It's unbelievable. So it's fun sometimes. It really is hilarious.
Those pleasure boaters, they just don't run their boats enough, so they have no idea how to act.
Yeah.
I call them lake life.
Hey, we should do that. Bass and Brews and the One Cast get together at one of the local lakes and set up a combined podcast and just make
live
fun of
boat
all these
ramp.
people.
Commentary,
Yeah.
live by
Hey, we're
all about it.
play by play.
We're sending Trey out there. He's going to park that dude's boat for $5.
You bring that up,
you
it's
know?
funny because twice this has happened, both times on Jordan, where my wife has backed the trailer down. I've power loaded the boat, and she has offered and then backed somebody else into the water because they were doing the whole like.
Yeah.
And my
Listen,
wife was like,
that's
"You want
a-
me to get that for you?" And I'm like, "Ooh,
The Peter Griffin backing up.
yeah."
Yeah.
That's a whole thing. There's a full YouTube channel, and I fucking love it. And it's about the Miami Municipal Boat Ramp in Miami, Florida. And the guy literally just videotapes it and commentates people fucking up at the boat ramp. It's like the best thing ever. But also, I don't want to re-educate. Well, I mean, I'm out now, right? But I did 20 years in the Coast Guard. I need stupid boaters because that was the bulk of my search and rescue cases are dumbasses. So I needed those stupid boaters. But
Fair.
Well, what's funny is people always say, why do they have their wife backing the boat down? You know, they're screaming at them, turn this, turn this. Why didn't they back it down? And here's my theory is that them assholes can't back the boat down. And so they don't want to look stupid. So they get their wife to do it, and they back there screaming and hollering like they know what the hell they doing, but they couldn't back that bitch down no better than she did.
You're probably right.
Yeah.
I know
Yeah.
I'm right.
I've had
That's
plenty of
almost
people say,
proven here.
you've done this a few times, haven't you? I'm like, yeah, it takes nothing to put a boat on a trailer. And they're
listen,
like,
I'm all about this collaboration, and I've never backed a fucking boat down on a trailer, and I'll still rip people apart. I don't give
so
a fuck.
you'll be the first one that we
Yeah, we'll put
record.
him in. I mean, he's not going in my truck, but we'll find somebody's truck and put him in it. We'll send him down there
The
about
camera doesn't look
11:30
right.
on a Saturday on Jordan.
Yeah, no kidding.
Oh, Ebenezer.
I make it a point to get off usually those unless I'm on a school of fish where I'm just catching them all day long. I'm out of there at like 11 o'clock because you can't even get out, man.
I don't even try to go on the weekend.
Summertime, Saturday, Sunday, I'll launch at 5:15, 5:30. It's just light enough to run, and then I'm at the ramp taken out by 10:15 usually.
Mhm.
Yep. Then I'm home mowing the yard.
Just because I mean, there's no, and it's not just wake boaters and everything, but all the like the weekend crowd, man, is so many people that just don't have any etiquette, and it's not just lake lice, what I call them, pleasure boaters. It's not just other bass guys, I mean, I can't tell how many times I'm fishing a point and have kayaks come between me and the point. And it's like, man, I'm all about sharing the water, but when I take up off out of there, I'm trimming up a little bit,
Yeah.
I'm gonna let them have a little. But there's a whole education thing there with everybody that lacks.
Hold on. So we have a whole new business. We're gonna critique you at the ramp, and then when you cut somebody off, you're just gonna wake them out, and that's
I'm just gonna wake them out.
It's like Scared Straight, but fishing edition.
So I was fishing a Saturday on Jordan, not last summer, 2 summers ago, and I'd gotten cut off by dudes in bass boats like 5 times that morning, and finally the 6th time, and I'll never forget this dude's boat. And if you somehow listen to this, I apologize. He was an old dude in a lime green and black old beat up nitro, and he pulled like 100 yards, not even like 40 yards in front of me as I'm fishing around a point, and you can clearly see him on the trolling motor coming. And I troll the motor right up beside him, and he's like, "Hey, how you doing today?" And I come unglued on this dude, like cussing him, just not being a good person. I was so mad, and went to take off, and I left the trolling motor down because I was so mad. You guys probably don't know, but a bass boat, if you leave the trolling motor and give her a little gas, it just creates a wave over the bow.
Yep.
Yeah, we've all done it.
How do you feel about that? Like, what
I felt bad.
Embarrassed? Were you embarrassed?
I wasn't embarrassed because I was so mad, but
That's
I looked at my wife, and she was just looking at me like, "Yep, that is what you get for cutting that on this Saturday morning."
Now, I guess the question is did you commit though? You're like, it's down, but fuck it, I'm going.
No, I didn't want that shaft. I went up and I pulled it in and whipped out of there. But
I think you bring up a great idea though, and I know I gave a great idea out last episode, but here's a reason maybe to get one of those fancy podcasts, those portable podcast recorders, right? So you get one of these people and you come up real nice. When they cut you off, you come up real nice. You're like, "Hey, what's up? How are you? Hey, can I record a quick interview?" And you go real nice. And then you hit them hard with, "Hey, so why was it a good idea to cut me off like a fucking asshole?" Like, just put them right there on the spot, right?
Have that little skinny Bob Barker, whatever that microphone.
Put it right in their face. Just like, "Yeah, no, I mean, your boat's nice. It's great. But how come your parents didn't raise you correctly? Is there any way you can explain that?"
This goes back to that whole like not sharing information thing, because people think they own certain like spots on the lake, and if you're fishing in their spot, I mean, I've had multiple times fishing a point. It's all public water, but a guy wanted to be on there, and I was there before him, so he'll in a bass boat run 30 feet in front of me and cut across Point as I'm fishing just because I beat him there.
Have you guys ever had it where you're fishing a makeshift like a crappie rig that somebody dumped in the water and it's there, and then they come up and be like, "Well, I'll put that damn thing in the water." Be like, "Wow, too fucking bad, man." Because I'm here right now, But I've had that happen a couple of times. I put these in the water bow, and I'm like, "Well, yeah, I know.
I got here first.
Cool,
I appreciate it.
Cool. You took your shitty Christmas tree.
On my live sonar.
You took your shitty Christmas tree and you dumped it in a deep hole. Great. Like
speaking about Harris, Paul and Alex, you ever gonna make it down this way?
Who, me?
Yeah.
Eventually, it depends on like I said, I just got out. I just retired from the military. I got to find a new fucking job. I don't know what the schedule on that job's gonna be. Hopefully, I've posted before. I'd love to get $120K a year and only work 4 hours a week. So fingers crossed, I can figure that out.
Yes.
It's probably not going to fucking happen, but I would love to actually travel down. Me and Amanda, my wife, are looking at solutions possibly like May to June-ish coming down to North Carolina.
So after you start your OnlyFans page, which is the only way you're going to do that, you should come down here because it seems like somebody took a dump truck full of tires and dumped them in the lake. And I'm not talking about where everyone knows there's tires at on Sharon Harris, but it's off in a creek now. And I'm like, did somebody load a dump truck onto a ferry and dump that shit in the water? Because like I went over it the other day and I'm like, this was never there.
They probably had a pontoon, but
yeah, I'm like, oh my god!
And
I'm like, I don't. So educate me on this, and maybe you guys know. Is it legal to drop Christmas trees in makeshift brush piles?
Yes. It depends on what it's made out of.
In some lakes, you're not allowed to drop. And I just heard something about it a couple months ago. I was listening to a podcast. In some lakes, you're not allowed to drop brush
Christmas trees.
Any brush pile, anything that you bring off the bank and drop in the water is not allowed. Now down here in the South, hell yeah, you tell somebody not to drop Christmas trees
in New Jersey. You can drop everything. You can't drop the tires, right? That's a no-go, but you can drop Christmas trees because I personally, bodies, strollers, whatever you want to make cover. But I have personally taken most of my Christmas trees. There's a spot where I fish all the time on this tidal river. It's a deep hole. Everything's like the deepest is 8 feet. And then there's a 15-foot hole, right?
Nice.
And so that 15-foot hole, I'll stack all my Christmas trees every year, wait 2 weeks, come back, and I can pull a shit ton of crappie and bass off of it. No problem.
Like, ooh, I knew I forgot that ornament. Damn it, when I was packing.
Holy shit, I got a crappie and a Batman ornament. What the fuck?
Hey, for all of our listeners, I know one of our listeners will know some lakes. There are lakes where you're not allowed to drop brush piles. So the listeners, send Alex a ticky-tack and tell him.
Yeah, I'd like to hear that because from my understanding, like the U.S. regulation for it is, okay, so you can drop brush piles. The big overarching federal regulation is you can drop brush piles as long as it's a native tree to that area. So maybe that's an issue because you guys are in a podunk state that doesn't have real fucking trees. So
wow.
I'm originally from Washington State, so yeah. But
I was gonna say, what is Jersey?
We'll go grab
Pine Barrens.
That's it, Pine Barrens, bro. That's where I fish.
That's it. We're going to the red tree forest.
We got plenty of those pine trees down here.
No, long lake.
But then you can also throw like certain. So in Jersey, they have a specific rule on the PV or the PCP pipe, right? PVC.
PVC.
Jesus.
There's probably some PCP pipes in there.
On the LSD pipes.
That's why those fish.
Sure, he just got out of the military.
Power plant. It's the LSD.
Just got out of it. So there's a lot of. Never mind. I don't. Wait. When is this going to air? Yeah, I'm not officially out yet. So
he's like, I don't have my DD 214 yet, guys. Shut up.
Yeah. I got 2 weeks. February 1st. I'm officially. It's my last paycheck. So then we'll have a full conversation about it.
Yeah. What were you going to say, Ben?
Yeah, the brush pile thing. I looked into it years ago. I think on Corps lakes, you're supposed to give the Corps of Engineers the coordinates for the actual brush piles. But other than that, I don't think
that makes sense.
Yeah, because they're gonna have to dredge.
Ain't like giving the coordinates so they can then post it on the website.
Hey,
no one gives the coordinates. No one does that.
Hot tip for everybody though. We've got like 3 in Jersey, in South Jersey at least, but what Paul said is a real thing. So you have to give those coordinates, and they post them online. 100%.
Do they really?
Yes, 100%.
For North Carolina.
Yeah, well, they have to. They have to because it's a dredge. It's a dredge survey, right? It's to make sure that Corps of Army Engineers doesn't dredge back through that area. So as long as you dig through their public records, they'll give you those spots. So I have a pretty. It's the second biggest lake in New Jersey is close to me, and Army Corps regulates that. And I've hammered it because I get the hot intel of where people are stupid enough to report when they drop these things to the Army Corps. Like they're following the rules, but Army Corps will just unload it. Army Corps will also tell you when they dig deeper holes, right? So this lake is a little bigger than the river that I'm on. So this one goes down to like 20 feet, but then there's 25-foot holes that they have to use for water movement near a dam, right? And they'll give you the middle spot and they'll give you the radius around the spot. And you can kind of plot all of that on Google Maps or whatever you're using to cheat the system almost.
Well,
That's not cheating the system. That's perfect. That's the good legal knowledge.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't even know that until you just said that, right? And
yeah.
So I gotta
yeah, Army Corps has
month.
to. Any report they get that's going to affect one of their surveys, they have to put it out in a report, and you can usually find that through your local district.
That's
Army
all
Corps.
all the fish markers. If you use a map card from
If you,
from whoever you use, if you see the fish markers on there on a quarter lake, that's those coordinates.
Yeah.
They report them. Lowrance or CMAP, whoever makes that map card, will pull all that and put it into their.
That's
cards.
good, man. That's good information for the general pop.
and if you go on the Corps website for the particular lake, like if you Google like Jordan Lake water temperature, you can pull up the Corps, like the daily report. It's got the flow, the temperature, water level, all that information, so you can kind of get an idea of what's going on in your body of water.
Yep.
Even without even showing up there.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
No, it's great. And then also, I mean, just I don't know, we're way off track, but like so like I fish a tidal fishery, right? You could also just fucking talk to people too. Like we talked about sharing information, right? So I fished this one canal system in New Jersey, and I've just talked to the people who own houses on it.
Mhm.
Just been a general there's a couple key rules here. So 1, don't be a dickhead. 2, don't be a dickhead. And then 3, don't be a dickhead. And then as long as you talk to them. So they gave me there's like 4 people who have like weather stations where they have a little thing that runs in to track the highs and lows on the tide, and then the temperature, and then they got their wind thing. They gave me access to all their weather stations just because I was a general nice human being. So I could literally now, like when I'm going to go out and fish that, I log on, I look, I'm like, oh, the tide's looking good. Water temperature has been stabilized, like blah, blah, you know what I mean? These are super easy things a lot of people can do if they were just nice to people, just generally a good human being.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they'll give you their PIN and social security number and all that stuff too.
I tried that. Shout out. I put 4 cards out on their name, and they finally said no.
No,
but I mean,
that's good.
there was one house that was super nice. Like it was that weird thing. Like, have you guys been recognized on the water due to social media?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah,
It's very weird.
A lot of fangirls and boys, fan people.
Mm-hmm.
okay. All right. Yeah.
No, seriously. I mean, we had that. I had that over the Raleigh Fishing Expose over the weekend that we were at. One of our big followers came and spent a few $100s on product, but the way that we met this individual was months and months ago, and I was out on fishing, and she was fishing with somebody else, and long story short, sent me a message on Instagram, was like, hey, I didn't want to fangirl you this morning, but I saw you, like, I'm getting into fishing and all this stuff. And so we've all been working with her for months, just trying to get her into the game. She went out and bought a brand new boat. She like outfitted. I mean, she bought, like $100 grand worth of stuff. And she genuinely just wants to get into fishing. And we shared everything with her, right? Like everything that we could, teaching her how to use a bait caster, teaching her how to drop shot, teaching her all these things. And so, yeah, absolutely. Social media has helped out a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm going to go out with her in a couple weeks and help her learn her electronics and stuff. So
yeah,
that's what it's about.
It's a weird feeling though, that those first couple times.
Yeah.
I think it'll always be weird because I've never considered, no matter how big we got, even if we had 1 million downloads an episode, I don't think I would ever consider myself famous. So
no,
I think it'll always be a little bit awkward, but it's kind of cool too, you know?
It is. Listen, I come
you're
home
doing
when it
things
happens.
right.
I come home and I tell the wife, and she tells me to shut the fuck up and take out the trash.
It's kind of like the thank you for your service thing.
Yeah, thank you for your service.
Oh my
Yeah.
god, yes, it is.
I appreciate it, but it's always weird to hear it.
Yeah, it
It
is.
is. All right, boys. All right, so we're at that time. So we want to give you guys full chance right now. We're about ready to move into the only segmented part of the Bass and Brews podcast. Okay. So because I want to be fully clear, I love how every time, Paul, making this more and more dramatic. Anyways, this is going to either, it's sunk a top 10 bass fishing podcast before when they answered these questions wrong. So before we even get there, I want to give you guys a chance to give any shout outs that you'd like to right now.
Go ahead, Ben.
Good, Ben.
I'm worried about these questions.
Yeah, I don't worry
about these questions.
I
Yeah.
wouldn't worry about the questions. I mean,
But
the questions are great. And actually, Paul doesn't even know this because I always like to drop surprises. I have a brand new one to add to this. But go ahead, shout out before possibly your career is going to go. You're going to become either the Elon Musk of fishing or you're going to become the new Elon Musk of fishing.
before we get canceled, before we get kicked off the internet. So I'll plug us, One Cast Fishing. If you want to join the snagless revolution, catch more fish, lose less tackle, go to onecastfishing.com. Check out the snagless jigs, Neds, long neck hooks. You can use our discount code, the One Cast, at checkout, save 10%, and get out in the water and catch a lunker.
yeah. And before we get canceled, we have some podcast episodes coming out, and they may be the last ones, depending on how these questions go. But no, you can find the One Cast. It's on all the major podcast platforms. If you go to One Cast Fishing's YouTube page, you'll see the channel under there. We have a Facebook group, just the One Cast on Facebook, where we kind of add upcoming episode info and stuff like that. So check out the podcast on socials. You'll see all of our personal socials on there too. If you want to follow along with our boring lives, you're more than welcome to do that too.
I'll give a shout out to all of our brand ambassadors that are out there, like pushing social media and supporting the narrative and supporting the product. They're doing a great job, and we couldn't do it without them. And then, if you're into helping veterans and things like that, I do need to push the heroesharvest.org website, which is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that works with veterans to experience outdoor therapy. And go check us out, because we're going to be running some events. Specifically, the 1st of April, we're doing a Spring Warrior Clash in partnership with the Piedmont Bass Classics and FLR Outdoors. So if you're a boater and you want to sign up, go to the Piedmont Bass Classics website. And if you're a co-angler, which is a veteran, first responder, or something like that, you can go to the Heroes Harvest website and sign up as a co-angler. And they're and we'll give you more information if you want to send any sort of DMs. Or
hey, what was that website again? That's heroesharvest.org.
Heroes.org. And you can look in the upcoming events section, and you'll see the 1st of April Spring Warrior Clash. Essentially, the boaters will buy into a tournament, but the co-anglers will be veterans and first responders. So it's kind of like that mini Warriors on the Water concept, but we're doing a 50 boat maximum, trying to get some participation. And then part of the proceeds will go back to the nonprofit so we can continue sponsoring some of these veteran and first responder outdoor events.
I dig it. All right, boys, you guys ready for the shotgun round? That's what we call this, right, Paul? Is that what we're calling it this week? The shotgun round?
Do you want to call a name for the answer, or do you just want us to choose on our own? Okay.
Well,
we'll see.
Okay. So
is there a buzzer?
Of you. Well, there's 3 of you. So because there's 3 of you, you each, let's go left to right.
God. Your left or our left?
My left.
Start with Trey.
Yep.
Send it.
Yep. And you're going to get 2 seconds to answer the question. These are supposed to be rapid fire shotgun blasts when you drink your favorite Busch Light or shitty beer. Rush to the head, answer these questions. Are you guys ready?
Is it a 1-word answer?
Yes, usually.
Yeah.
Yeah, usually. They're pretty much all 1 word. Yes, no, and 1 word.
Yes, no, 1 word. Send it.
All right. You going to spend more on a rod or a reel?
A rod.
Same questions?
Yep.
Oh,
all the way around.
Reel.
Rod.
All right. Crocs or flops?
Flops.
Crocs.
Yes.
Hey, I grew up in Virginia Beach. That's what we Flip flops all the
You
time.
don't get sun-kissed skin in Crocs. You get them in flops.
Hey, you get sun-kissed circles on your skin. Okay?
I got the
There you
best
go.
summer tan line ever.
I get cheetah print.
All right. Shit, sorry, that threw me off. You don't get sun kissed. Fucking. All right. Pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
No,
Absolutely not.
Nope.
You guys are losers.
you can't pump your own gas.
Fuck me. God damn, I gotta write down another clip here. Hold on. I'm supposed to be quick. I gotta write down these little clips. Let's see here. Slow jams or hype music on the way to the water?
Hype music.
Slow jams.
Hype.
Have you ever eaten beaver?
PG-13, yes.
What do you mean PG-13? Why?
Like,
why wouldn't it be PG-13?
Yes, I have eaten a beaver. A buddy of mine from Tennessee shot one, and I ate one time.
Delicious.
I have not. I don't like the taste of plastic.
You've eaten a lot of plastic?
What the?
Beaver bait.
No, not that beaver.
I understand here,
Yeah, I have eaten.
but it's a fishing podcast.
Sweet beavers.
Eaten them all.
Sweet beavers, yeah.
Pete, you've eaten beaver?
Yeah, more than
Yeah.
one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
How did you guys prepare it?
Raw.
The experience was different every time.
Wait till his wife hears this.
Sometimes slowly, sometimes quickly.
Oh my.
Check that mark, inappropriate for kids.
Oh, well, this
No,
is
no,
Baskin
we're good, we're
Bruce. This is not appropriate for children at all. Listen, we have some pretty diehard fans, including the Bass and Brews historian, who's a school teacher, and she
Wow.
already knows that this is. Listen, if you have children listen to our show, it's probably a fucking bad idea.
It's
gonna end
probably
up-
a parenting problem.
Yeah.
They're gonna end up doing this. They're gonna end up like me and Paul later in life, spending all this money to bring you guys bullshit.
Send more shotgun
we
rounds. I like it.
understand.
All right. In a 5-hour fishing trip, would you rather catch 5 2-pounders or 1 7-pounder?
1 7-pounder.
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 Yeah, that's the only right answer on that one. Well, usually the tournament guys are like, well, I'd like to fill out a limit.
I mean,
You said 2.
You
That's
said
not a
fishing
limit.
and yeah, that just sounds like fun fishing. So I want 1-7.
yeah, I mean, yeah. It's a better
Paul,
picture.
did I get all of them except for the brand new one? And the
And
ender?
obviously the sandwich one, which you almost
Yeah.
forgot.
All right.
whenever
So the
I played.
brand new one, this one got brought up. Are you a boat flipper or a net man?
Oh, boat flipper.
I'll lean towards net.
Okay.
I'm gonna boat flip if I can.
All right.
It looks cooler.
It looks cooler until you're in a kayak and you're trying to boat flip a pickerel and you don't know what the fuck you're doing. And you end up getting cut off because literally this happened at what was it, like January 3rd. We had this huge, I think everybody had that heat wave, right? Like 60 degrees.
Yeah.
And so I went out and the pickerel were biting, which that's awesome. These were big, fat, like 3+ pound pickerels. They're monsters. It's great. But I go to boat flip this one, and instantly when I go to lift up the rod, I go to reach phantomly for the net that I didn't fucking bring. And it wasn't there. And then I go to lift them up, and the fish literally comes up, slaps me in the head and the shoulder, pushes off of me, and I go, ugh! And then it snaps off. I cut all that off the YouTube because I'm not
Why?
saying
Where's
it.
the
that's
video?
just
Where's
bad.
yeah? Come
Oh,
on.
there's video, but it's highly edited. Man, yeah. All right, so this is the most important question. This is what, honestly, the whole all the Brewskis, the Bass and Bruce fans are looking for. They want to know, and because there's 3 of you, you guys each get. You're going to answer this once, and you can't be the same answer. All right. Every fisherman loves a good sandwich on the water.
Mm-hmm.
What's your top sandwich protein?
Top three.
Well, no. They're each going to answer one because that makes 3, Paul.
Okay, geez.
You
well,
fucking
wait a-
idiot.
Well,
So
what do you
me,
mean?
I'm
We've done it this way before. Anyway, go ahead. Answer.
We haven't
out.
done 3 people before, Paul.
I
You're
gotta
about
go.
as daffy as the hat behind you.
He actually does look like he's wearing a onesie with
All yelled out.
so ham. I'm a ham guy.
He's a ham, so ham cannot be used again.
So with ham off the board, I'll take probably roast beef.
Okay. Solid choice. If you fucking say spinach, you're going to be up there with Bailey from Serious Angler. And hold on, big guy. Looking at you, I know you're not going to say fucking
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do I look like I'm gonna say spinach, bro? Come on.
Peanut butter jelly.
I don't think anybody's actually said that.
I don't know that. I guess you could consider peanut butter protein, but
It
I'm
is.
probably gonna go with some thick sliced turkey.
Okay.
Cranberry sauce on it.
That's weird. Yeah, turkey.
All right,
That makes a
boys. Well,
difference.
thank you guys so much for coming on. One more time, plug where they can find you guys at.
Yeah, plug us, Pete.
So you can find us at the OneCast on Facebook, OneCast Fishing on all the other socials, YouTube. If you search the OneCast on podcast sources, it'll pull up. It may not be the first one on Apple, but it'll be right there. You'll see kind of this logo, and that's us. So we drop new episodes Thursdays at 7, audio, sometimes the video, depending on render and stuff. You know how that can be. It might be a little bit after, but yeah, check us out. Join our groups, comment, tell us what you do and don't like, and yeah, look forward to it.
All right, boys, you guys hang out for a minute. Before we leave, though, we want to make sure we've got a huge. Am I overdoing the huge? It's not a huge announcement. All right. It's a normal announcement. So we're about ready to add another show. And the title of the show is